a retired rescue dog, teams up with Ranger Ryan Carter and rookie investigator Emily Reyes to uncover a massive animal trafficking network. The story begins with Echo leading the team to a shocking discovery of abandoned puppies in the woods, which unravels a nationwide operation. With Echo's sharp instincts and bravery, the team infiltrates warehouses, deciphers encrypted files, and dismantles key parts of the trafficking ring. The climax comes during a daring raid at a safe house where Marcus Kane, the network's leader, is captured, and crucial evidence is secured. Through fierce firefights and Echo's quick thinking, the team overcomes every obstacle, saving countless animals and bringing justice to a corrupt system. The story concludes with Echo being celebrated as a hero, earning the love and admiration of his community. His courage and loyalty prove that even in the darkest moments, a single act of bravery can inspire hope and change lives. What did you think of Echo's incredible journey? Did his bravery inspire you? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let us know where you're watching from. Don't forget to subscribe to DG Story, like, and share this video. Hit the notification bell to never miss another gripping tale. Join us for more stories of courage, justice, and unforgettable heroes. The mountain roads of Colorado were serene that morning, the sun just beginning to crest over the forested peaks. Officer Ryan Carter adjusted his sunglasses as he drove the Ranger truck along a winding path. Beside him, Emily Reyes, the newest member of the Ranger team, scanned the tree line with a mix of curiosity and focus. "It's quiet today," Emily remarked. "Almost too quiet." Ryan chuckled. "You've been watching too many movies. Quiet is good. It means no emergencies." Suddenly, a flash of movement caught their attention. A German shepherd darted into the road ahead. Barking furiously, Ryan slammed on the brakes, and the truck skidded to a stop. "Whoa!" Emily exclaimed, bracing herself. The dog stood firm, its eyes locked on the truck. It barked again, more urgent this time, before turning and running toward the tree line. "That's Echo," Ryan said, recognizing the dog. "He's supposed to be retired. What's he doing out here?" "Looks like he wants us to follow," Emily said, already opening the door. Echo led them through the dense underbrush, his pace unrelenting. Ryan and Emily followed closely, ducking under low-hanging branches and stepping over roots. After a few minutes, Echo stopped abruptly near a clearing. He barked sharply, pawing at the ground beside a shallow mound of dirt. Ryan's heart sank as he knelt beside Echo. "Emily, grab the shovel from the truck," he said. Within moments, they uncovered a wooden box, crudely nailed shut. The faint sound of whimpering came from inside. Emily's hands trembled as she pried the lid open with Ryan's help. Inside were 3 tiny puppies, their eyes barely open, shivering and covered in dirt. "Oh my God," Emily whispered, carefully lifting one of the pups. "They're alive." Echo sniffed the puppies gently, his ears twitching as if he were ensuring they were safe. Ryan placed a hand on the dog's head. "You knew they were here, didn't you, boy?" Emily wrapped the puppies in her jacket. "We need to get them to a vet. They're in bad shape." Ryan nodded, his jaw set. This wasn't an accident. Someone did this on purpose. Dr. Harper, the town's veterinarian, worked quickly to stabilize the puppies. She examined their frail bodies, her expression grim. "They've been sedated," she said, "probably to keep them quiet during transport. Whoever did this wasn't planning to care for them." Emily clenched her fists. "This is disgusting. Who could do something like this?" Ryan looked at Echo, who was lying near the exam table, his eyes watching every movement. "Someone who doesn't care about life," he said. "But Echo cares. That's why we found them." As they left the clinic, Emily carried the now-resting puppies in a crate. "What's next?" she asked. Ryan glanced at Echo, then at the woods. "We follow the trail. Echo found them for a reason. Let's see where it leads." Echo barked once, as if agreeing. His tail wagged slightly, but his posture was still alert. "All right, boy," Emily said, smiling. "You lead the way." The team returned to the woods, determined to uncover the truth behind the cruel act. With Echo's instincts guiding them, Ryan and Emily knew they were about to embark on a journey that would change everything. For the puppies, for the town, and for themselves. Back at the ranger station, Ryan and Emily spread the shipping manifests across the table. Echo lay by the door, his ears twitching at every sound outside. "These are coded drop-off points," Emily said, pointing to the lists of letters and numbers. "If we can figure out what they mean, we'll know where they're operating." Ryan nodded. "But we don't have much time. Whoever was in the woods might already be alerting their team." Emily's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and frowned. "The tech team says the codes could be geographic coordinates, but they need more time to crack it." Ryan leaned back, his gaze falling on Echo. "We might not have that kind of time. Let's head to the closest town and see if anyone's heard about suspicious activity." They drove to Pine Hollow, a small town nestled in the valley near the forest. The local diner was bustling with lunchtime chatter as Ryan and Emily walked in, Echo trailing behind. "Stay close, buddy," Ryan said, giving Echo a reassuring pat. The waitress greeted them warmly. "Haven't seen you two in a while. What brings you out here?" Ryan showed her a picture of the shipping manifests. "We're looking into some strange activity in the woods. Have you heard about anything suspicious? Maybe new people passing through?" She squinted at the paper, then shook her head. "Can't say I have, but you might want to ask Joe over at the gas station. He's always got his ear to the ground." At the gas station, Joe leaned against the counter, wiping his hands on a rag. His eyes narrowed as he glanced at the manifests. "Why are you asking about this?" he asked, his voice low. "We think it's connected to an animal trafficking ring," Emily said. "We're trying to shut it down." Joe hesitated, glancing around the empty station. "You didn't hear this from me, but there's been talk about a group using the old sawmill up north. Trucks come and go late at night, but no one knows what they're hauling." Ryan exchanged a look with Emily. "Thanks, Joe. We'll check it out." As they turned to leave, Joe added, "Be careful. These aren't the kind of people you want to mess with." The sun was setting by the time they reached the sawmill. The abandoned building loomed against the darkening sky, its windows shattered and walls covered in graffiti. Echo sniffed the air, his body tense as he led them toward the back entrance. "Looks quiet," Emily whispered. "Too quiet," Ryan replied, his hand resting on his holster. Inside, the sawmill was dark and musty. Echo moved carefully, his nose leading him to a corner where fresh tire tracks were visible on the dusty floor. "They've been here recently," Ryan said, crouching to examine the tracks. Suddenly, Echo barked sharply, his growl low and menacing. Ryan and Emily froze as footsteps echoed from the upper floor. The sound of footsteps grew louder, followed by the creak of a door. Ryan motioned for Emily to take cover as he drew his flashlight. "Who's there?" he called out. A shadow moved along the railing above them. "You shouldn't have come here," a deep voice replied. Before they could react, the sound of metal scraping against wood echoed through the room. Emily's eyes widened. "Ryan, look out!" A large crate toppled from above, crashing to the ground just feet from where Echo stood. The German shepherd leapt back, barking furiously, realizing they were outnumbered. Ryan signaled for Emily and Echo to retreat. They slipped out the back entrance, hearts pounding. "We need backup," Emily said, catching her breath. Ryan nodded. "And fast. This isn't just a drop-off point. It's their main operation hub." Echo growled softly, his eyes fixed on the sawmill as if to say, "We'll be back." The discovery of the sawmill brought them closer to the heart of the operation, but it also revealed the dangers they were up against. With Echo's instincts leading the way, Ryan and Emily prepared for the next steps in their mission. Back at the ranger station, Ryan and Emily gathered their notes and called the local sheriff's office for backup. Echo sat near the door, his ears alert as if sensing the urgency in the room. "Sheriff Daniels," a gruff but reliable officer, listened carefully as Ryan laid out their findings. "You're saying the sawmill is a hub for animal trafficking?" Ryan nodded. "We found evidence in the woods and confirmed suspicious activity at the sawmill. They're moving animals through there." Daniels frowned. "This is bigger than I thought. I'll send a team to assist. But we need to be careful. If they're organized, they'll fight back." As night fell, the team prepared to move on the sawmill. Ryan loaded his gear into the truck while Emily double-checked the manifest photos and notes. Echo paced around the truck, his energy restless but focused. "Echo's ready," Emily said, smiling slightly. "Are we?" Ryan chuckled. "We'll have to be." Sheriff Daniels and his team arrived shortly after, their vehicles blending into the darkness. "We'll approach from 3 sides," Daniels explained, pointing to a map. "Ryan, Emily, and Echo will take the back entrance. My team will cover the front and the sides." "Let's do this," Ryan said, his jaw set. The team moved silently through the forest, their flashlights off to maintain stealth. Echo led the way, his nose close to the ground as he followed a scent trail. Reaching the back entrance, Ryan signaled for Emily to take position. Echo stood beside him, his growl low and steady. Ryan pushed the door open slowly, revealing a dimly lit storage area filled with cages and supplies. The air was heavy with the stench of animals and chemicals. "They're definitely here," Emily whispered, her eyes scanning the room. Suddenly, Echo barked sharply, his body tense. A man appeared from behind a stack of crates, his hand reaching for a weapon. "Freeze!" Ryan shouted, stepping forward with his gun drawn. The man hesitated for a moment before lunging toward a nearby door. Echo reacted instantly, chasing after him and knocking him to the ground. "Good boy," Ryan said, quickly securing the man with handcuffs. Emily moved to a desk littered with papers and a laptop. She opened the top folder, her eyes widening as she scanned the contents. "Ryan, look at this." Ryan joined her, his expression darkening as he saw the detailed records of animals, destinations, and transaction amounts. "This isn't just local," he said grimly. "They're running a nationwide operation." Echo growled softly, drawing their attention to a door at the far end of the room. Ryan nodded. "Let's see what's behind door number 2. The door led to a staircase descending into a basement. The air grew colder as they moved down, Echo leading the way. At the bottom, they found a large room filled with cages, each holding frightened animals. Emily's heart broke as she knelt beside a cage containing a trembling Labrador. "We'll get you out of here," she whispered. Ryan checked the room, his flashlight illuminating a control panel on the far wall. "This looks like it controls the locks on the cages," he said. Before he could investigate further, a voice boomed from behind them. "Step away." They turned to see a tall man holding a gun, flanked by 2 others. Echo growled, his body poised to attack. "Who are you?" Ryan demanded, his weapon raised. The man smirked. "Doesn't matter. You won't leave here alive." Emily glanced at Echo, who was waiting for her signal. She tightened her grip on her gun, her mind racing for a plan. "Echo, stay ready," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The room fell silent, the tension thick as both sides prepared for a fight. The team had uncovered critical evidence, but the sudden standoff in the basement raised the stakes. With Echo at their side, Ryan and Emily braced for the next move in their dangerous mission. The tension in the basement was palpable as Ryan and Emily faced the armed men. Echo stood between them, his growl low and threatening. "You've made a big mistake coming here," the tall man said, his gun steady. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Drop your weapon and step away. This ends here." The man chuckled darkly. "I don't think so." Before anyone could react, Echo lunged forward, targeting the man's wrist. His powerful jaws clamped down, forcing the gun to drop. The weapon clattered to the ground as the man cried out in pain. "Move!" Ryan shouted, taking cover behind a stack of crates while Emily fired a warning shot to keep the other men at bay. Echo kept the tall man pinned, his growl a constant reminder of the dog's strength and determination. Ryan quickly secured the man with handcuffs before pulling Echo back. "Good boy," Ryan said, patting Echo's side. The remaining two men hesitated, their confidence shaken by the dog's swift attack. Emily aimed her weapon at them. "Drop it, now." Reluctantly, they complied, placing their weapons on the ground. Ryan stepped forward. "You're going to tell us everything about this operation. Start talking." The tall man sneered. "You think shutting us down here will make a difference? There are others, bigger than us. You're wasting your time." Emily's hands trembled slightly, her frustration evident. "Then why don't you give us their names? Make yourself useful for once." The man smirked. "You'll never reach them. They're untouchable." Ryan exchanged a look with Emily. "We'll see about that." With the men restrained, Ryan and Emily turned their attention to the cages. Echo sniffed each one, his tail wagging slightly as he reassured the frightened animals. Emily found the control panel and flipped the switch, unlocking the cages. "You're safe now," she said softly, opening each door. The animals hesitated at first, their fear palpable, but Echo's presence seemed to calm them, and one by one, they stepped out. "We need to get them to the rescue center," Ryan said. "These animals have been through enough." Emily nodded, her voice firm. "And then we bring this evidence to Daniels. This operation ends tonight." As they herded the animals out of the basement, Echo stopped suddenly, his ears perking up. He barked sharply, turning toward a dark corner of the room. "What is it, boy?" Ryan asked, moving closer. Echo sniffed the ground, pawing at a trapdoor hidden beneath a pile of debris. Emily's eyes widened. "Another level? What are they hiding down there?" Ryan pulled the trapdoor open, revealing a narrow staircase leading into the darkness. "Let's find out." The air grew colder as they descended the staircase, Echo leading the way. At the bottom, they found a small room filled with crates and a single computer terminal glowing faintly in the corner. Emily approached the terminal, her heart racing. This could have all their data, transactions, contacts, everything. Ryan scanned the room, his flashlight illuminating stacks of crates labeled with strange symbols. "These aren't just animals. They're smuggling something else." Echo growled again, his body tense as footsteps echoed from above. "They've realized we're still here," Ryan said, his voice grim. "We need to move fast." The discovery of the hidden room revealed the true scale of the operation. But the approaching footsteps signaled that their time was running out. With Echo by their side, Ryan and Emily prepared for a final confrontation. The faint sound of footsteps from above grew louder, reverberating through the narrow staircase. Ryan and Emily exchanged a tense glance, their hands tightening on their weapons. Echo stood at the base of the stairs, his growl low and steady. "They're coming," Emily whispered, her voice barely audible. Ryan motioned toward the crates. "Emily, secure that data. Echo and I will hold them off." Emily nodded and hurried to the computer terminal, her fingers flying across the keyboard. "I'll copy as much as I can," she said. The first man descended cautiously, his flashlight cutting through the darkness. Echo barked sharply, drawing the man's attention. Ryan used the moment to act. He fired a warning shot into the ceiling, his voice booming. "Drop your weapon." The man froze, but the sound alerted his accomplices. Two more men charged down the stairs, forcing Ryan to retreat behind a stack of crates. Echo lunged forward, knocking one man off balance and forcing him to drop his weapon. "Good boy," Ryan called, firing another shot to disarm the second man. Meanwhile, Emily worked frantically at the terminal. Her heart pounded as she scanned the files, each one revealing more about the operation. Detailed records of transactions, locations, and contacts painted a damning picture of the network's reach. "This is huge," she muttered, copying the files onto a flash drive. Suddenly, A faint beep caught her attention. Her eyes widened as a timer appeared on the screen. Ryan, they've set a self-destruct sequence for the system. Ryan cursed under his breath. How much time? 5 minutes. Emily replied, her voice shaking. Echo barked again, his body positioned protectively in front of Emily. The remaining men hesitated, their confidence shaken by the dog's ferocity and Ryan's precise aim. We're not sticking around for this, Ryan said, grabbing the flash drive from Emily. Let's move. The group hurried up the staircase, Echo leading the way. As they reached the main floor, the sound of distant sirens echoed through the woods. Daniels is here, Emily said, relief flooding her voice. Outside, Sheriff Daniels and his team had surrounded the sawmill. The remaining operatives tried to flee but were quickly subdued by the officers. Ryan handed the flash drive to Daniels. This has everything: locations, transactions, contacts. It's enough to take the entire network down. Daniels nodded, his expression grim. You did good, but this isn't over. They'll have people ready to take their place. Emily knelt beside Echo, scratching behind his ears. Not if we stay one step ahead, she said softly. As the sun began to rise, the animals were loaded into rescue vehicles, their soft whimpers replaced by the promise of safety. Echo watched from a distance, his tail wagging slightly as if understanding the importance of the moment. You've earned a rest, buddy, Ryan said, crouching beside the dog. Emily smiled. Not just a rest, he's earned hero status. Back at the ranger station, Ryan and Emily reviewed the data from the flash drive. The evidence was overwhelming, providing a clear roadmap to dismantling the network entirely. This is just the beginning, Emily said, determination lighting her eyes. Ryan nodded. And with Echo, we'll finish what we started. Echo barked softly, his gaze steady and confident. The raid on the sawmill marked a major victory, but the journey was far from over. With Echo leading the way, Ryan and Emily prepared to take the fight to the heart of the trafficking network, knowing their mission had only just begun. Days after the raid on the sawmill, Ryan, Emily, and Echo worked tirelessly to analyze the data from the flash drive. The files revealed the scope of the trafficking operation, spanning multiple states with key drop-off points and encrypted contacts. This isn't just big, Emily said, her eyes scanning the maps and transaction logs spread across the table. It's massive, and they'll know we're coming. Ryan nodded, his face grim, which is why we need to move fast. We hit them before they can regroup. Echo, lying near the door, perked up as the faint sound of tires crunching gravel reached his ears. He barked sharply, alerting the team. What is it, boy? Ryan asked, rising from his chair. Before Emily could answer, a black SUV skidded to a stop outside the station. A barrage of gunfire erupted, shattering windows and forcing the team to take cover. Get down, Ryan shouted, pulling Emily behind an overturned desk. Echo crouched beside them, growling fiercely. The station's radio crackled to life. Sheriff Daniels here. We're under attack too. Multiple vehicles. It's them. Emily grabbed her phone and called for backup, her hands trembling. This is Reyes. We're pinned down at the ranger station, requesting immediate assistance. Ryan peered over the desk, firing a few shots at the attackers. They're trying to shut us up before we can act on the data. Emily nodded, her voice resolute. Then we make sure they don't. The gunfire intensified, bullets ricocheting off the station walls. Echo barked furiously, his eyes locked on the attackers advancing toward the building. Ryan noticed Echo's focused gaze. You see something, boy? Echo darted toward the back door, barking loudly to draw Ryan's attention. Emily followed, her heart racing. He's trying to lead us somewhere. The back door opened into the forest, where Echo began sniffing the ground, his movements purposeful. Ryan and Emily trailed behind, staying low as they moved through the underbrush. Echo stopped near a ridge overlooking the station. From their vantage point, Ryan and Emily could see the attackers' vehicles parked below. Ryan smirked. "Good boy. We can flank them from here." Emily radioed Sheriff Daniels. "We've got a line of sight on their vehicles. If we take those out, we can force them to retreat." Daniels responded, his voice tense. "Do it. We'll hold them here." Ryan adjusted his rifle. Aiming for the tires of the nearest SUV, he fired, the shot puncturing the rubber with a loud hiss. Emily followed suit, disabling another vehicle. The attackers scrambled, their focus shifting to the new threat. With their vehicles compromised, the attackers began to retreat, firing sporadically as they fled into the woods. Sheriff Daniels' team arrived moments later, securing the area. Ryan crouched beside Echo, scratching his ears. "You did it again, buddy. You're the best partner we could ask for." Emily smiled, her adrenaline still pumping. "That was close, but this is far from over." Ryan nodded. "And we're just getting started." The ambush at the ranger station was a clear message. The network was aware of their threat and willing to fight back. With Echo's instincts and their determination, Ryan and Emily prepared for the battles yet to come. The ranger station was in shambles, with shattered windows and bullet holes scarring the walls. Sheriff Daniels surveyed the scene, his expression grim. "They're getting desperate," he said, glancing at Ryan and Emily. "This wasn't just an attack. It was a warning." Ryan shook his head. "If they think this will stop us, they're wrong. Echo found us a way to fight back, and we're not backing down." Echo barked sharply, his posture alert as if to affirm Ryan's words. Emily stepped forward, holding the flash drive. "We still have the data. They didn't get what they came for." Daniels nodded. "Good, but we need to move quickly. They won't give us a second chance." Later that night, the team regrouped in the sheriff's office, which had become their temporary base of operations. Emily spread a map across the table, marking locations tied to the network's activities. "Based on the data, their next shipment is leaving from here," she said, pointing to a warehouse on the outskirts of a nearby city. "It's their central hub for moving animals out of state." Ryan studied the map. "If we take that hub, we cripple their operation." Daniels crossed his arms. "We'll need more than just our team. This place will be heavily guarded. We can't wait for reinforcements," Ryan said firmly. "If we miss this chance, they'll scatter." Emily nodded. "We have Echo. He's been right every step of the way." Daniels sighed, then nodded. "All right, we hit them at dawn, but we do this smart." As the first light of dawn broke over the mountains, the team gathered outside the warehouse. Sheriff Daniels had brought additional officers, and the air was thick with tension. Ryan crouched beside Echo, adjusting the dog's harness. "You ready for this, boy?" Echo wagged his tail, his eyes sharp and focused. Emily joined them, checking her equipment. "I'll take the left flank. Echo and I can scout the perimeter while you and Daniels move in." Ryan nodded. "Stay close to him. He's our best shot at getting through this." Echo moved silently along the warehouse's edge, his nose to the ground. Emily followed closely, her heart pounding with every step. Suddenly, Echo stopped, his body stiff. He growled low, his gaze fixed on a guard patrolling the area. Emily raised her hand, signaling for Echo to stay. She watched as the guard moved past, then gestured for Echo to continue. They reached a side door, where Echo sniffed the handle before barking softly. Emily pressed her ear against the door. "Ryan, we've got activity here, at least 2 guards inside." Ryan's voice crackled over the radio. "Hold position. We're coming to you." Moments later, Ryan and Daniels joined them at the side door. Echo wagged his tail briefly but remained focused on the task at hand. "Ready," Ryan whispered. Emily nodded, her hand on the doorknob. "Let's do this." Ryan signaled the team. Emily opened the door slowly, and Echo darted in, his growl echoing through the room as he targeted the nearest guard. "Move!" Ryan shouted, following Echo inside. The team had breached the warehouse, But the true challenge lay ahead, with Echo leading the charge. They prepared to dismantle the network's central hub and deliver a critical blow to the operation. The warehouse erupted into chaos as the team moved in. Echo's barks echoed off the metal walls, disorienting the guards as Ryan and Emily secured the area. Sheriff Daniels and his officers followed, quickly subduing the remaining guards near the entrance. "Clear this section," Daniels shouted, motioning for his team to move deeper into the building. Ryan and Emily flanked Echo, who darted ahead, sniffing for signs of danger. He stopped near a stack of crates, growling low. "What's he found?" Emily asked, her weapon raised. Ryan carefully approached the crates, prying one open. Inside were small cages containing frightened animals, dogs, cats, even exotic birds. Emily's eyes widened. "They're trafficking more than just dogs. This is a full-scale operation." Echo barked sharply again, his body turning toward a steel door at the far end of the warehouse. He growled, pawing at the ground as if urging them forward. "Something's behind that door," Ryan said. Daniels joined them, nodding toward two officers. "Let's find out." The team approached cautiously. Emily checked the door handle and shook her head. "Locked." Ryan pulled a crowbar from his pack. "Not for long." With a grunt, he forced the door open, revealing a dimly lit room filled with monitors and computers. A man sat at the center, his fingers flying over a keyboard. "It's their command center," Emily whispered. The man looked up, startled. "You shouldn't be here," he spat, his hand moving toward a switch on the desk. Echo lunged forward, his teeth clamping onto the man's sleeve and pulling him back before he could reach the switch. "Good boy," Ryan shouted, securing the man with zip ties. Emily moved to the monitors, her heart sinking as she saw live feeds of other locations tied to the operation. "Ryan, look at this. They've got hubs in other states, Chicago, Dallas, Phoenix." Ryan frowned. "If we don't stop this now, they'll just move everything elsewhere." Emily glanced at the screen and noticed a flashing icon. "Wait, there's a remote self-destruct sequence for the data." He was trying to erase everything. "Can you stop it?" Ryan asked. Emily nodded, sitting at the terminal. "I'll try, but it's encrypted." As Emily worked, Echo growled again, turning toward the open door. Ryan followed his gaze and saw shadows moving in the hallway. "They're regrouping," he muttered. "Daniels, we've got company." The sheriff nodded, positioning his team to defend the command room. "We hold this position. Protect the data at all costs." Ryan knelt beside Echo, patting his side. "All right, boy, we're counting on you." Echo barked once, standing firm as the first wave of attackers appeared in the hallway. The firefight was intense, bullets ricocheting off the steel walls as the team held their ground. Echo darted between cover, his instincts guiding him as he distracted the attackers. Ryan fired precise shots, taking down two guards who tried to breach the room. "Emily, how much longer?" "Almost there," she shouted, her fingers flying across the keyboard. The team was under siege, but with Echo's bravery and Emily's quick thinking, they held their ground. The final moments of the confrontation would determine whether they could dismantle the network or lose everything. Fan 5. The air in the command room was thick with tension as Emily raced to decrypt the files. Outside, the sound of gunfire and Echo's sharp barks punctuated the chaos. "We can't hold them forever," Daniels shouted, reloading his weapon. Ryan fired another shot, pinning a guard attempting to advance. "Emily, how much longer?" Fan 3. Emily's hands trembled as she typed. "Just a little more. The encryption is tougher than I thought." Echo barked sharply, his body poised near the doorway. He lunged at a guard who had managed to slip past, knocking him to the ground. Ryan quickly subdued the man, his trust in Echo's instincts unwavering. One of the attackers hurled a smoke grenade into the hallway, the dense cloud quickly filling the area. "Smoke!" Ryan yelled. "Emily, we need to move." "I've almost got it," Emily shouted, her voice muffled by the haze. Echo growled, his keen senses cutting through the confusion. He darted toward the hallway, barking fiercely to signal the attackers' positions. Ryan grabbed a mask from his pack, tossing one to Emily. "Finish it. Echo and I will cover you." Echo led Ryan into the hallway, where visibility was near zero. The dog's growls guided Ryan as they moved through the smoke, taking down two attackers who had been advancing toward the room. "Good boy," Ryan said, patting Echo's side. As the smoke began to clear, Ryan spotted reinforcements arriving. Officers from the sheriff's department stormed the warehouse, pushing back the attackers. "We've got them on the run," Daniels called. Back in the command room, Emily let out a triumphant shout. "I've got it. The files are decrypted, and I'm copying everything now." She inserted a second flash drive, ensuring there was a backup of the critical data. "This has everything we need to dismantle the network." Ryan and Echo returned to the room as Emily completed the transfer. "We need to get out of here," Ryan said. "Now." With the files secured, the team began their retreat. Echo led the way, sniffing out the safest path through the warehouse. As they reached the exit, the attackers attempted one last stand, blocking the main doors. Ryan and Daniels coordinated their teams, delivering precise shots to disable the remaining guards. Echo darted forward, distracting the final attacker long enough for Daniels to subdue him. "Clear," Daniels shouted. Outside, the team regrouped as rescue vehicles arrived to transport the recovered animals. The atmosphere was a mix of exhaustion and triumph. Emily handed the flash drives to Daniels. "This will shut them down for good," she said, her voice firm. Daniels nodded. "You did good. All of you, especially him." He motioned to Echo, who was sitting calmly beside Ryan, his tail wagging slightly. Ryan knelt beside Echo, scratching behind his ears. "You're incredible. You know that? None of this would have been possible without you." Emily smiled, her adrenaline still pumping. "He's more than a partner, he's a hero." The raid on the warehouse was a decisive blow to the trafficking network. With the files in hand and Echo leading the way, Ryan and Emily knew they were one step closer to ending the operation for good. The air was crisp and cold as the team stood outside the warehouse, watching the last of the animals being loaded into rescue vehicles. Ryan rested a hand on Echo's head, the dog's tail wagging faintly despite his visible exhaustion. "We did it," Emily said softly, her voice a mix of relief and determination. Sheriff Daniels walked over, holding the flash drives. "This is just the beginning. These files will take down their entire operation, but it's going to take time to process everything." Ryan nodded. "At least we've stopped their immediate operations. That buys us time to go after the rest of them." Daniels frowned. "They'll know we've got their data. We need to move fast before they disappear." Back at the sheriff's office, Emily and Ryan pored over the decrypted files. The data revealed locations of other hubs, contact names, and encrypted communications. One name stood out repeatedly: Marcus Kane. "Kane's their leader," Emily said, pointing to the name. "He's the one coordinating all of this." Ryan leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowing. "And he's not going to stop unless we take him down." Daniels joined them, his face grim. "We've got a possible location for him, a safe house in Denver. If we move now, we might catch him off guard." Ryan glanced at Echo, who was lying near the door. His ears perked at the sound of urgency in their voices. "What do you think, buddy? Ready for one last mission?" Echo barked softly, his gaze steady and determined. The team set out before dawn, the city skyline coming into view as the sun rose behind them. The tension in the truck was palpable as Ryan drove, his focus unwavering. "We've come this far," Emily said, breaking the silence. "We can't let him slip through our fingers." Ryan glanced at her. "We won't, not with Echo leading the way." In the back seat, Echo shifted, his body alert despite the long night. It was as if he understood the importance of what lay ahead. The safe house was a nondescript building tucked between warehouses on the city's industrial edge. From the outside, it looked abandoned, but Echo's low growl told a different story. Ryan parked the truck a block away, and the team moved in on foot. Echo led the way, his nose close to the ground as he sniffed for traces of activity. "There's movement inside," Emily whispered, peering through a cracked window. Ryan nodded. "Daniels and his team will cover the perimeter. We go in through the side door." Echo sniffed the door handle, his body tense as if sensing what lay beyond. Ryan eased the door open, and the team slipped inside, their footsteps muffled by the concrete floors. The interior was sparse but functional, with crates stacked against the walls and a faint hum of electronics coming from the back room. "He's here," Emily murmured, her grip tightening on her weapon. Ryan signaled for Echo to move forward. The dog crept ahead, his growl low but steady, guiding them toward their target. With the safe house breached and Echo leading the way, the team prepared for a final confrontation with Marcus Kane. This mission would determine whether they could dismantle the network for good or risk losing everything they had fought for. The air inside the safe house was heavy with tension. Echo's soft growls guided Ryan and Emily as they moved down the dimly lit hallway. Sheriff Daniels and his team secured the perimeter, ensuring no one could escape. "He's close," Ryan whispered, his eyes scanning the shadows. Echo stopped abruptly at a door near the end of the hall. He barked once, his tail stiff, signaling the presence of someone inside. Emily nodded toward Ryan. "This is it." Ryan positioned himself beside the door, his weapon ready. "On my count, 3, 2, 1. Ryan kicked the door open, and the team burst into the room. Marcus Kane stood at the far end, his back to them as he worked at a computer. He didn't flinch at the sound of the door, instead calmly typing a few more commands before turning around. Well, Kane said, his tone mocking. "The famous ranger and his little team. I've heard about you." Ryan leveled his weapon at him. "Step away from the computer, Kane." Kane smirked, raising his hands. "You think taking me down will stop this? I'm just one piece of the puzzle." Emily moved toward the computer, her heart sinking as she saw the screen. "He's wiping the files." Ryan motioned for Echo. "Go!" Echo lunged toward Kane, snapping at his arm and forcing him away from the desk. Kane struggled, but the dog's grip was unyielding. "Good boy," Ryan said, securing Kane with handcuffs as Emily worked to save the files. Suddenly, gunfire erupted outside. The sound of Daniel's voice crackled over the radio. "We've got hostiles approaching the safe house. They're trying to extract him." Ryan cursed under his breath. "They're not giving up without a fight." Emily looked up from the computer. "I've saved most of the files, but we need to get out of here." Echo barked sharply, his gaze shifting toward the window. The sound of approaching vehicles grew louder, and the tension in the room thickened. With Kane in custody and the files secured, the team prepared to leave the safe house. Ryan led the way, Echo close by his side. "We'll use the back exit," Ryan said. "Daniels, can you hold them off?" The sheriff's voice came through, strained but determined. "We'll buy you time. Just get him out of here." Emily carried the laptop and flash drives, her heart pounding as gunfire echoed around them. Kane sneered as he walked between Ryan and Emily. "You think this ends with me? My partners will rebuild faster than you can stop them." Ryan ignored him, focusing on Echo's signals. As they approached the back exit, Echo stopped abruptly. He sniffed the air, his body tense, then barked sharply. "Trap," Ryan muttered. He motioned for the team to halt. Emily glanced around, her eyes landing on a faint wire near the floor. "Booby trap," she said, kneeling to examine it. Echo growled low, his gaze fixed on a small device tucked in the corner. Ryan nodded. "Good boy, you just saved us." Carefully, Emily disabled the trap, and the team continued toward the exit. With Marcus Kane in custody and the files secured, The team fought their way through the chaos surrounding the safe house. Echo's instincts and quick thinking once again proved invaluable. But the battle wasn't over yet. The team emerged from the back exit into a narrow alley, the cold air biting against their faces. Echo moved ahead cautiously, his ears perked and tail stiff. Emily adjusted her grip on the laptop and flash drives. How far to the extraction point? Ryan checked his watch. A few blocks. We just need to hold out until Daniels gets clear. The sound of tires screeching and approaching footsteps shattered the brief calm. A black van skidded to a halt at the mouth of the alley, and armed men poured out. "They're here," Ryan shouted, pulling Kane behind a dumpster for cover. Emily ducked behind a stack of pallets, her heart racing. "They're not letting him go without a fight," Echo growled low, positioning himself between the team and the attackers. The attackers advanced quickly, firing as they moved. Ryan returned fire, his aim precise. Emily followed suit, her hands steady despite the chaos. Echo barked sharply, darting forward and weaving through the confusion. He lunged at one of the attackers, knocking the man's weapon from his hands. The distraction gave Ryan enough time to disable another. "Good boy," Ryan called, motioning for Echo to return. The attackers hesitated, their confidence faltering as Echo growled fiercely. His eyes locked on them. The sound of sirens grew louder, and Sheriff Daniels' voice crackled over the radio. "We're closing in on your position. Hold tight." Emily exhaled in relief, peeking out from behind her cover. "They're almost here." Ryan nodded. "We just need to keep them pinned down." As the attackers tried to regroup, Echo barked again, signaling movement near the alley's entrance. Ryan spotted a figure attempting to flank them and fired, forcing the man to retreat. "Not today," Ryan muttered, reloading his weapon. Kane, still cuffed and crouching behind the dumpster, smirked. "You're wasting your time. My people will find me, and when they do, you'll regret this." Ryan turned to him, his expression cold. "Not if we take down every one of them first," Emily added, her voice steady. "Your network is done. Those files are all we need to make sure of it." Kane's smirk faltered, and for the first time, a flicker of uncertainty crossed his face. The van's engine roared to life as the remaining attackers tried to flee. Echo barked sharply, darting toward the vehicle. "Echo, no!" Ryan shouted, chasing after him. But Echo stopped short, blocking the van's path and barking furiously. The driver hesitated, his foot hovering over the gas pedal. The delay was enough. Daniels' team arrived, surrounding the vehicle and forcing the attackers to surrender. "Stand down," Daniels ordered, his voice firm. The attackers dropped their weapons, and the alley fell silent. Ryan knelt beside Echo, scratching behind his ears. "You're incredible. You know that." Emily joined them, her expression a mix of exhaustion and pride. "We couldn't have done this without him." Daniels approached, Kane in tow. "Let's get this guy into custody and make sure those files get where they need to go." Ryan nodded. "And make sure everyone knows Echo is the reason we got this far." With Marcus Kane secured and the attackers defeated, the team achieved a critical victory. But as they regrouped, they knew their fight against the trafficking network was not over yet. The team regrouped at the sheriff's office, their bodies weary but spirits determined. Sheriff Daniels handed the secured flash drives to a federal agent who had arrived to take custody of Marcus Kane. "This evidence will dismantle their entire operation," the agent said, carefully tucking the drives into a secure case. "You've done incredible work here." Ryan nodded, glancing at Echo. "We couldn't have done it without him." The agent smiled. "I've heard about your dog. He's a hero." Echo wagged his tail slightly, leaning into Ryan's hand as he scratched behind the dog's ears. Emily sat at a desk, reviewing the final reports. Her hands trembled slightly, the weight of the past few days settling in. "We stopped them today, but this fight isn't over. There are always more out there." Ryan leaned against the wall, his arms crossed. "But we've sent a message, and with that data, We've cut off their resources. It's a start." Sheriff Daniels walked over, placing a hand on Emily's shoulder. "You both should be proud. This wasn't just a victory for the law, it was a victory for those who couldn't fight for themselves." Emily glanced at Echo, who was lying near the door, his eyes half closed but ears still alert. "He fought harder than any of us," she said softly. A week later, the town hosted a small ceremony to honor the team's efforts. Rescue groups and local families gathered at the community center, sharing stories and celebrating the lives saved. Echo stood at the center of attention, his tail wagging as children and adults alike showered him with affection. Mayor Thompson took the stage, holding a plaque engraved with Echo's name. "Today, we honor not just the brave officers who protected our community but a true hero, Echo. His instincts and courage saved countless lives and helped bring justice to those who needed it most." The crowd erupted in applause as Ryan knelt beside Echo, attaching the medal to his collar. "You deserve this, buddy," he said with a smile. In the weeks that followed, the rescued animals were placed in loving homes or transferred to sanctuaries. Emily volunteered at a local shelter, ensuring each one received the care and attention they needed. Ryan, meanwhile, worked with federal authorities to follow up on leads from the flash drives. The network's operations were systematically dismantled, and arrests were made across the country. As for Echo, he adjusted to a quieter life, but his role as a hero never faded, visiting schools to teach children about animal welfare and accompanying Ryan on local patrols. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ryan sat on his porch, watching Echo chase fireflies in the yard. Emily joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You think he knows how much he's changed?" Ryan chuckled. "Dogs like him always know. He's more than a partner, he's family." Echo trotted over, dropping a stick at Ryan's feet and wagging his tail. Ryan smiled, tossing it into the distance. "Good boy," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. As Echo bounded after the stick, the world felt a little safer, a little brighter, thanks to a dog who never stopped fighting for what was right.